The fine line between confidence and arrogance. The human body often says what the tongue thinks before speaking. A posture, a look, a hand position, a way of sitting, or even a silent movement can sometimes change the entire impression of a personality. This is why understanding body language is not only an art, it is also a deep human need. The physical movements and postures discussed in this chapter are usually signs of confident people. But in many situations, the same movements can also create an impression of dominance, arrogance, or aggression. The difference is very subtle, but the impact is very strong. Body language often speaks louder than words. That is why it is important to understand where the real boundary exists between confidence and arrogance. A person may appear confident through his body language, but with a slight excess, the same person may start looking arrogant. One useful gesture to analyze in this context is the steepling hand position. On one side, this gesture is often seen as a sign of confidence. For example, if a job candidate uses this posture while talking about his previous employment, or if an expert uses this hand position while answering a difficult question with fluency, it may indicate knowledge, confidence, and mental clarity. But on the other side, if the same gesture is used too often in everyday conversation, the other person may interpret it as a sign that you want to show yourself as superior. In that situation, the gesture becomes a barrier instead of making communication easier. One basic principle of communication is very important. A human being does not respond only to words. He also responds to tone, pauses, body signals, and the inner impression he receives. When your hands are sending the message, I know everything, the listener may stop focusing on your words and start feeling your attitude instead. Perhaps no one likes it when the person they are speaking with behaves in a superior way. People want to feel that they are being treated as equals. They also want to feel that their knowledge, experience, and opinion are being valued. Excessive use of the steepling hand gesture can create irritation instead of building confidence or highlighting knowledge. This is especially true among people who also trust their own knowledge and expertise. When both sides begin to see themselves as wiser, more correct, and better informed, the direction of the conversation can change. When both people in a conversation start seeing themselves as superior, the discussion can move in one of two directions. If both accept each other with the same attitude, the gesture can support the conversation because both may feel that balance exists in the relationship. But if both insist that they are right and the other person is wrong, the conversation can turn into conflict. This is the point where the silent competition of I know better than you begins. Unfortunately, this kind of conflict rarely reaches agreement. Usually, it results in a bitter and unpleasant argument. Both sides build more walls during the conversation, and their opinions move farther apart instead of coming closer. If a speaker uses the steepling hand gesture too much during a presentation, or if a trainer uses it too often during a training session, it can also be seen as arrogance. The audience may feel that the speaker does not respect their current level of knowledge and wants to present himself as superior to them. Of course, if the speaker is answering a question on a topic where he clearly has expertise, this gesture may be acceptable at that moment. But even then, it is important that he also uses other supportive signals. These may include open palms, soft eye contact, an appropriate smile, and a body lean that makes the listener feel that the conversation is not a one-sided command, but a respectful connection. Impact is created when the body, voice, and words move in the same direction. If the words are cooperative, but the body is showing superiority, the listener will believe the body more than the words. This is why confident body language must include softness, respect, and balance. Generally, most of the positions discussed in this chapter can create a positive impression of confidence as long as they are not overused. But when you exaggerate them, people may start seeing you as arrogant. The hands behind the head posture is also one example of this. In some moments of conversation, it may indicate that a person believes in something, such as his opinion, the answer to a problem, or a decision he is about to make. But if someone uses this posture while stretching his legs forward, leaning his whole body back, and showing a superior attitude throughout the conversation, it can be interpreted as arrogance. In such a situation, people will not find it pleasant to talk to him. Instead of being impressed by his knowledge, they will distance themselves because of his attitude. Similarly, there are two other similar postures that can give different signals depending on the situation. One is placing the hands on the waist. The other is keeping the thumbs outside the trouser pockets. The hands on the waist posture indicates confidence, openness, and readiness for action. This posture says that the person is present, prepared, and mentally ready to face the situation. The posture of keeping the thumbs outside the pockets also shows readiness for action. but it carries one extra message. It can also suggest that you are ready for confrontation. In other words, it can become a sign of self-belief mixed with aggression. If a speaker uses this posture at the beginning of a presentation, it may become very difficult for him to bring the audience to his side. Most likely, the audience may turn against him, begin looking for weaknesses in his arguments, and start asking difficult questions. The main point is that confidence is strength, but arrogance is a wall. Confidence can bring people closer, while arrogance pushes them away. Confidence says, I know my point. Arrogance may create the impression, only I know. That is why the real skill of body language is not only in showing strength, it is in presenting strength with balance. When your body is confident, but your attitude is soft. When your signals are clear, but not aggressive. When you stand by your point, but still leave space for the other person's opinion, your personality feels more effective, more acceptable, and more dignified. Remember, the best sign of confidence is the one that does not make the other person feel small. This is the fine line where a person looks strong, but not arrogant, influential, but not threatening, firm in his place, but still respectful of others. This is 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐿, a certified body language trainer.